we're gonna talk about getting your actual permit and all of that stuff, and then do a review. Let's see how much of this stuff you guys actually remember. Okay, so let's start with permit documentation, right? So when you get your certificate, it's going to come in an envelope with a bunch of paperwork in it, right? And there's going to be this checklist in there, and this is like all the stuff that you got to take over to DPS. So the very first thing on here is the DE 964, right? So that is the certificate that we give you that tells DPS that you have passed the knowledge portion of their exam and you are eligible for a driver's or a learner's license, right? When you get this certificate, there's no additional information that needs to get added to it, but you do just need to check that all the information that is on there is correct. Okay, because we're human and we make mistakes, and so sometimes we mess up a name or a date of birth and something like that. So just make sure that when you get it, that all the information on there is correct, so that way you don't have any troubles when you get to DPS. Next is proof of identity, right? So you have to prove you are who you are. So if you have a state ID or passport, that makes things very easy. That's the only thing that you would need. If you do not have a state ID or a passport, then you're going to need your birth certificate, your social security card, and then like a school ID, report card, something like that. And with those, you can prove you are who you are. If you do not have a license or a passport and you need this big long list, let me know when you get your certificate. And then I can explain like all the things and what you can pick from and all of that good stuff. All right. Then you have to prove that you live in the state of Texas. So in order for you guys to do that, whatever parent goes with you to DPS has to take 2 bills with their name on it. Okay. But sometimes whoever's name is on the bill isn't necessarily the person that can take you to DPS, right? So there's all sorts of situations around here that we run into. So like a real common one is dad's a truck driver, all the bills are in his name, but mom's going to take you to DPS, right? And dad's never home, right? And so it's like that's not going to work. Okay. So and then the other thing is like we live in a lot of multi-generational households around here. So like sometimes the bills will be in like grandma and grandpa's name, not mom and dad's, right? And so if the person whose name is on the bills cannot go with you to DPS, let me know. And what we can do is we can get some of the paperwork together ahead of time and I can notarize the documents, right? Nobody ever explained to me what a notary really was, okay? You see those signs about town, notary public, right? And all a notary really is a state authorized witness, okay? It's a glorified fact checker, right? It's someone that the state of Texas has given the authority to put a stamp on a piece of paper. And when they put that stamp on that piece of paper, it says truth, right? So I'm a notary public in the state of Texas. I got my little commission thing right here. I got my truth stamp right here, right? And so what we can do is we can get the documents together. I can throw the stamp on a paper and then you can take the bills with whoever's name on it to DPS without that person and prove that you live in Texas, right? So if you need that, let me know. We do not charge any extra for the notarization. We just say it's included with the cost. All right. Uh, Now, proof of social at this point now they do it electronically, so you don't even need like your social security card technically, unless you're using it for proof of identity, right? Because you don't have a passport or a license. Now, this is where we usually run into some issues. Okay, the VOE, verification of enrollment. One of the requirements for you to have a license while you are under the age of 18 is you are required to be in good standing with the school. Right? You have to be enrolled in the school and you have to be in good standing, which means that you have to be passing all of your classes and you cannot have too many absences. Ooh. And that's normally where we get the groans. Yeah. So there is no other way for you to get your permit or license without this piece of paper being signed. Can't do it. They used to be a little bit more loosey goosey and you could take like report cards and stuff. Not anymore. Okay, they really tightened down on this. So usually you go to the attendance office and they put your name on a list and then they get your VOE ready, email it to you, have you pick it up at the office, whatever. Every school's a little different. But technically, any counselor, vice principal, or principal can sign off on this VOE. So even if you're not eligible, if you got a favor to cash in with a counselor, a vice principal, or a principal, now's the time to cash in that favor. Yeah. I had one student who made a deal with her guidance counselor and said that she would do this this particular like makeup course or whatever over the summer. And if she said that she would do that, then the counselor would sign off on the deal. And so that's how she was able to get her deal. Right. But again, there is no other way around this, right? I understand that you want to be doing other things. You have one job at this point, and that is be a student. And you know what? It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Yes. So the student ID is cool for like proof of identity if you don't have a driver's license or a passport. But without this specific form, can't do it. Right? You have to have that VOE. Right? And nobody's saying you got to be valedictorian. Okay? Pass. That's it. You just have to pass. Right? I'll never forget that one student, man, Melissa. Okay. She couldn't get her VOE. And I was like, what's going on, Melissa? Well, why can't you get this VOE? Because I have too many absences. Why are you missing so much school, man? What are you doing? She goes, it's just I work a lot. She goes, how much are you working? Said, I don't know, like 35, 40 hours a week. What? I was like, why are you working so much? She's like, you don't understand, sir. My mom needs help with the bills. Oh, shit. Okay. Then I thought, hold up, Melissa, look me in my face right now and tell me how much money does your mother actually need for you to bring home for the bills? Like $100. Okay, so then why are you working so much? What are you spending all the rest of this money on? Clothes. Melissa, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be a nurse. Really? You know nurses have to go to school, right? Listen, don't even get me started on school. I'm not a real big fan of it. Not that I'm not good at it, I just don't like school. Right? right? I just don't like the way it is. But there are some things that if you want to do them, you got to get that piece of paper, right? And nurse, that's one of them. That's one of them. And right now, all I'm seeing from you, Melissa, is that you want to be a really good McDonald's manager, which is there's nothing wrong with that. I know plenty of people that manage McDonald's and live a very fulfilling life. Okay. But that's not what you said you wanted to do. You said you wanted to be a nurse. So what you're saying and what you're doing aren't really lining up. So you got to figure something out, right? And figure out where your priorities are and what you really want to be doing. Uh, and she was the one that went to the counselor and got the VOE signed. She signed up for this extra course, and you guys finish up, and then I never see you again. Every once in a while, a certain student will pop into my head, and I wonder what that fucker's up to. And a few years later, this girl comes into class and has the same last name as Melissa, not a very common one, Muro. And I said, do you know Melissa? And she's like, that's my sister. She brought me over here so that way I can take your class. And I was like, well, what is she up to? What is she doing? And she's like, oh, she got her phlebotomy certification and now she's working on her LVN. And then like a few months later, I ran into the sister as she was coming into a lesson. And I saw this like brand new Sonata with temp tags on it pulling away. And I was like, whose car is that? She's like, oh, that was Melissa's. She just bought it, right? And so I ran into her when she came to pick up the sister. And yeah, she got her shit together after I talked to her, and she like dropped down to like 15, 20 hours a week at McDonald's and focused on school and got her stuff. And I was like, there we go. There we go, right? So, I understand school is not necessarily the most exciting thing in the world. And I remember thinking, like, when I was a senior and thinking, like, 4 more years in college, we might as well have said infinity, just seemed like forever. And now, man, I think about 4 years and I'm like, that ain't shit. 4 years can go by so quick. So, again, nothing you can do, no way to get around this VOE. You have to be able to get it. All right. Now, the DL14B, normally when you go to DPS, you walk in and they got a clipboard with all these different applications and stuff on it. We give you one ahead of time so you can fill it out in peace. Okay. But with this application, a parent or guardian has to go with you and they have to sign, right? And so the same thing that we did with the bills, we can actually do with the application as well. We can notarize the application. And so if we notarize the application and notarize the bills, then like anybody can take you to DPS and get your permit, not necessarily mom or dad. Because sometimes it's going to be a pain in the butt for mom and dad to get there because they have to request off, but grandma and grandpa are already retired, so they can take you whenever, or older brother, older sister, or prima, primo, whatever, right? And so whatever's going to make it easiest for you to go and get your permit, let me know. So that way I can do what I need to do to get you there quickly. If there are any questions, if you have any confusions over the documentation and the paperwork, ask me. Okay, DPS, it's very difficult to get a hold of them and get any answers. And so the girls in the office are usually pretty good about knowing the information that you need. And if they don't know the answer, then they're just going to call me and I'll get the answer, right? If you get to DPS and they tell you that anything that I said was wrong, false. They are. Okay, I've proven it time and time again. So If you have to leave, make sure you get the clerk's name. If you don't get the clerk's name, I can't do anything to help you. Um, or even better, before you leave that desk, just call the office and say, hey, they're telling me this, and then we can set the script right then. Right. Uh, and then when you get to DPS, it's going to be $16, right? That you're going to pay for the card and stuff. And you'll do your vision test, you'll take your picture. And then when you walk out of that office with that piece of paper with your picture on it, that is your temporary permit. With that, you can legally drive with a licensed adult, 21 years of age or older. And that's when you can start requesting your driving lessons with us. That's these 2 weeks. Yeah, basically, the one thing on this list that we give you is the DE 964. So basically, it's like that's the last thing that you need in order to be able to do it. So once we give you that certificate that says you passed the exam, boom. So as soon as you can go in to DPS is as soon as you can get your permit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, you do have to make an appointment at DPS. You cannot just like walk into DPS and make this happen. So, right, these are the closest offices down here, right? But I'm going to walk you through real quick. Okay. I'm going to post on the Google Classroom a link to the scheduling site so that way to make things easier and stuff. But you'll select your preferred language. You'll put your information in. All right. And then when it comes to the last four of the social, really these 4 numbers are just your password for this account. So you can literally put in 1111 and it'll work. Right. And then they just added this multi-factor authentication shenanigans onto my phone. So come on, little buddy. You know? Okay. So from here, you're going to click new appointment. And what we want is this apply for first time Texas DL/permit. So if you get to this point and that apply for Texas, first time Texas DL/permit is gray and you cannot click on it, log out, put in your information again, but instead of using the actual last 4 digits of your social security number, just type in 1111. And then when you get to this point, it'll be blue and you can click on it. Okay. So we'll click here. We got to put in an email address. Okay. And then I'm going to put in the zip code for FAR. All right. And when I click next, it will bring up the closest DPS offices. Right. So the closest one is McAllen, but that is usually the busiest one. You can see they don't have an appointment until the 28th. Right. The Edinburgh Mega Center is the one that you can normally get in the quickest. It's over north near in Edinburgh towards the Monte Cristo exit up there, right? But right now, because McAllen is up here, it's only showing you like McAllen options. So in order to get like the Edinburgh Mega Center availability, you got to click on the arrow over here. So when you click on these arrows, now Edinburgh is at the top. It shows you all the dates. And so Tuesdays are usually the best days for you guys because on Tuesdays, DPS is open later. So you can get an appointment as late as 5:40. Okay. Normally on any other day, the latest you can get is 4:40. Right. But on Tuesdays, right? They're open until 6 o'clock. So that's usually the best day for you guys so that we don't have to miss school and stuff like that, right? And then you click whatever time, next, make sure all this information is good, and then you confirm your appointment, and that's how you get it. Yeah. Any questions over the scheduling the DPS? Okay. Now, once you have that permit, you can start requesting your driving lessons with us, right? So, I will post a link on the Google Classroom, right? On the main menu of our website, there's that. And there's also a link on that parent orientation guide. Right. So when you get to that, right, like you can see right here on the main menu, request teen driving lesson. So when you get to this form, okay, you're going to put in all your information, how you want to be contacted, whether text or call, right? And then when you do that, you get put onto the list in the order that you submit. And we have a dedicated scheduler. And what she does is she goes down that list and just calls each person or texts them one by one to schedule the appointment, right? In the order that they were submitted. All right. And that's how everything gets done. So if you have a crazy schedule and you never know when you're going to be free, then you're just going to want to talk with the scheduler and figure out when you can do what. Okay. But if you know that there are certain days and certain times where you are always available, you want to put that information here on the bottom. So that way, when the scheduler gets a hold of you, if they already know the days and times you're available, then they can be like, hey, I got this, this, or this. Which one you want? Right? And then you can pick out of the options that they have available. The other thing is during the school year, everybody is trying to get in on evening and weekends, right? Because that's like the only time you guys. But if you get like, because there are some people that are done with school at like 1 o'clock. You know what I mean? So if you get out early like that, let us know. We can drive you during the day, right? And then you don't have to worry about like trying to figure out when and waiting extra. But the best thing to do, okay, is submit the request, and then when you get that call or text to schedule and you get an appointment booked, submit another request. Okay, you should basically always have a request in the queue, right? So that way you're always in line to get a driving lesson. If you do that and just constantly put yourself in line, you will get all of the driving lessons done in a timely manner. But if you have a driving lesson and then wait 2 or 3 weeks before you put in another request, well, now it's going to take me at least 6 months and 2 or 3 weeks to get all the driving done. And then in between lesson 2 and 3, if you wait another 3 weeks, well, now it's going to take me 7.5 months to get the driving done because you put that extra time in between the lesson and the request, right? So if we are not doing what we are supposed to do and scheduling you once a month in that timely manner, that's a problem. And if that's happening to you, you email me directly. Okay? Don't even mess with the office anymore. You contact me directly and I will fix it. Personally. Okay? Even if I will come in early, I will stay late, whatever I got to do. Okay, that's my name up in the front, so it matters to me. right? So if we're not doing what we're supposed to do, I will make sure we fix it. But if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Like I said, I will bend over backwards for you, but I'm not going to drag you through this process. Okay. I'm not going to be reminding you to put in your requests and double checking when your appointments are. And no. None of that. This is on you. All right. So if you want to make this quick and easy, just make sure you're putting those requests in. Okay. Any questions over this form? Okay. Next. 30-hour log that you have to do at home. So the moment you walk out of DPS and you can request the driving lessons with us is also the moment you can start filling out this form. Okay. You do not have to complete this form before you drive with us. Okay. I repeat, you do not have to do any driving at all before you come in. If your parents don't want you to touch a steering wheel until your very first lesson with us, that's fine. That's actually my preference. I'd rather you have zero experience. Okay, because if you have zero experience, that means you have no bad habits. And when I teach you the first time, it's the right way. It's the people that have been out there for a year or two already driving that have all these bad habits that I got to break and then relearn the right way. That's hard. That's hard. But if you have little to no experience, great. Okay. But after you come in for a lesson, you must be practicing at home. Have to. Okay. There's only so much that we can do with 7 hours. Okay. There's only so much. If you're not practicing in between the lessons, nothing's going to happen. Okay. My son with his therapy, right, for the autism, he goes to physical occupational and speech therapy, right? And every 6 months we do the reevaluations and get updates and stuff. And every time they're like, man, he's really doing really great. Like, what are you doing at home? Right? Is what they always ask. And every time I tell them the same thing. Whatever you tell me to. Right? Because every day, every week, they tell us like what they're working on and where the focus needs to be. And then for the rest of the week, I go home and I make sure that that's where the focus is. And we practice that every single day. Because how is he supposed to what are they going to do with an hour and a half once a week? Nothing's going to happen. Not unless I'm reinforcing all of the things that they're doing in there throughout the rest of the week. Right? And so it's the same thing here. But for whatever reason, your parents are never going to listen to you. It's just, I don't understand. The exact same words that I say can come out of your mouth. And because it's coming out of your mouth, your parents are like, no, don't care, won't listen. I mean, it works both ways. I'm not saying anything different than your parents do, but because I'm not your parent, you're like, oh, yeah, that looks so good. Right? So, if your parents are not letting you practice, tell your instructor. Okay? Because we usually try and talk to the parents at the end of every lesson when they come and pick you up, just to let them know how you're doing. Because again, they're never going to believe you. Walk in there and be like, I'm killing it. Right? They're going to be like, right? But if we go up and say, hey, they're doing really good, their observation, blah, 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 then all of a sudden it sinks in. So I remember this one time, this one girl, man, she had so much experience already, but she would always turn with one hand. Every turn was one-handed, right? And I was like, yo, we got to fix that. Like, you're going to fail the exam because of all the points that you're going to get taken off if you just keep on turning with one hand. And she goes, sir, you don't understand. My parents make me turn with one hand. And I was like, what do you mean they make you turn? How do they make you turn with one hand? She goes, sir, every time I try and bring my other hand up, they smack it off the steering wheel. I'm like, oh shit, okay. So they do make you turn with one hand. But don't tell them I told you, right? I was like, it's fine, I got you. Don't worry about it. So like the mom came to pick up the little girl, and I was like, all right, everything's looking real good. She's just got one bad habit, those one-handed turns. So we gotta like focus up on that, right? So we gotta make sure we really nail down those two-handed turns. And what did the mom say? Oh yes, of course, every time, two hands, right? And the little girl, oh, I'm like, it's fine, right? As long as she understands, like that's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen, right? So yes, please tell your instructor if they're not. And I hate this chart. Okay, you can see at the beginning here, it's got 2 hours of like getting ready, and it's like 1 hour during the day, 1 hour at night to start. And it's like, yo, if you have like little to no experience in the car with your parent, 1 hour is too much to start with. Okay, way too long. At the beginning, you should do 10, 15 minutes tops. Tops. There's a lot of tension at the beginning, right? Because everybody's got to build trust, right? And parents got to learn how to trust you. You got to learn how to friggin' know that your parents are going to scream and not take offense to that, right? And so 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning, okay? But every single day, right? What everybody tries to do is they try and find an hour on the weekend, right? And then the weekend comes around and I'm tired, it's too hot, something's always going to come up, right? But literally, like right after dinner, right before you start making dinner, right? You literally just do, okay, today, 4 right turns. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Tomorrow, left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Just every single day at the beginning. Okay? Because at the beginning, what's going to happen is you have to put a lot of mental energy into feet go here, now hands do this. And so while you're thinking about all of that, it's impossible to also be like, and the danger? Can't do it. It's too much at the beginning. So you got to get that muscle memory down. You got to get it to where you don't even have to think about your hands and your feet when you're doing the turns. And when you don't have to think about your hands and your feet during the turns, that's when we can get the head moving back, right? And that's where we need to get you to, right? But you just need that constant repetition and muscle memory, okay? So there is technically a parent guide, right? That is available. It's this huge PDF that's got all the information about what your parents should be teaching you and the correct information. I've never known a parent to actually use this, but it's there and available. We got a link to it on our resources page on our website. So if they want to peruse this, this is all the stuff that they should be teaching you. But what you'll notice is that on this form where it says like to sign off for that 1 hour of practice, it says adult signature, not parent. Okay, so any licensed adult, 21 years of age or older, can sign off on those hours. It does not have to be mom or dad. Okay, now at the bottom, okay, parent and guardian signature. Okay, parent guardian signature there to be like, yes, all of that is good, but the practice doesn't necessarily have to be with mom and dad. So like for that first slot, it's better to do 10 hours or 10 minutes for 6 days. And then on the 6th day mark, okay, 1 hour. Right? That's really how you should be doing it. Okay, versus like trying to get all those big chunks done at the beginning. Okay. Any questions over the 30-hour one.